You ever think about quitting?
Is the combat of life hammering the snot out of you?
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Deep in the heart of Texas.
No, that's not how you can't. If you got to start that out, it's the stars at night are big and bright, and then if you just step outside and scream that, I'll automatically have to go. Deep in the heart of Texas.
That's why I did it. I don't know.
No, you have to deliver the first line.
All right, say it again.
Stars at night are big and bright.
All right, ready?
You really want him to do this? He's going to get killed.
The star. Emily, what?
Somebody's going to kill this man.
No, I'm paying tribute to the great state of Texas. This is our big Texas show, dude.
One of the best barbecue shacks in Texas is down there. Brownsville.
Down where he's from? Well, hold on. What do I say again to start the show?
Stars at night are big and bright.
All right, ready? The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. Where's your clap, bro?
No, you finished out the last part. I was fixing. Did you see me? I was fixing the clap, and you finished it. So I was like, basically, what happens after that? When you launch that out into the audience, Texas be driving in their truck and be like, almost wrecked it. Deep in the heart.
That's how. So the clap becomes deep from before, deep in the heart.
Have you ever seen, what was that movie back in the day? I think it was like Pee-wee's Big Adventure or something like that. I don't know why this stuck in my head.
Big Adventure.
What's the one with Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton? That's my favorite. Texas has a whorehouse in it, right? Lord have mercy.
Best little whorehouse, Texas.
Yeah.
That was a real place.
Oh, I know. Okay. That's what's awesome, man. What other great and epic Texas?
My dad went there. I was supposed to go there, but it closed down.
Is that like an 18th birthday spot?
Yeah.
Ours was the Pink Pussycat down in Miami.
Where was this located?
Yeah.
Man, I was hoping you would. I was just trying to think of the name of the town. It's right over here. Down the road in Texas.
Right.
Pretty
it's
good
in
ways.
The vicinity.
No, the place is still there. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they tore it down. It's just condemned. It's in. Let me look it up real fast.
And dude, so. He's from where? Brownsville? Our guest coming on today?
It's somewhere in northern Mexico, isn't it?
It's the last town in Texas. It's the lowest one. Yeah.
It's the last town in Texas.
A.K.A. northern Mexico.
That's South Texas. You say Brownsville, I mean, I don't think there's any more South Texas than that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, the funny thing is, it doesn't matter if you're in Brownsville, you're in El Paso, you're in Houston, you're in Austin. It doesn't matter. The overarching focus is still pretty heavy that if you're not from Texas, you suck, basically. Is it? Do they teach that in school? Like, I just saw a meme
Not
today.
That everything else sucks, it just ain't Texas, I guess would be the way to say that. You know that flag I got in the barn down there?
Exactly.
Oh, dude, I love it. Dude, did you see that there's a billboard that someone posted
LaGrange.
on?
It was in LaGrange,
LaGrange.
Texas, yeah.
There's a billboard in Texas now that when you cross the state line coming from California, it says, if you're a liberal, just keep on driving until you're out. It's a giant billboard, dude. It basically says, if you're a liberal, just keep on driving out of Texas. Unbelievable, dude. That's what I love so much about the fact that we do the show in Texas, my home way. And by the way, that my little star tattoo is a Texas star. I got it in homage of how wonderful the people are here in Texas.
They are. Our people are great.
They are, dude. I'm telling you.
I'm American made, Texas edition. Special Forces package.
Ford King Ranch.
Yeah, like Ford King Ranch. American made, Texas edition.
Texas edition.
Yeah,
I love
Special
it.
Forces package.
Oh my God, that's brilliant, man. Oh, one of my favorite things, man. I remember when in my the platoon went to Afghanistan with, dude, we all had helmets for the DPVs, and Larry was from Texas. He painted his helmet the Texas color. I know all your stuff was painted that way, right?
Oh yeah, my patches, everything, and the Protect down there on that Ronald Reagan bust in my office. That I was wearing that during Red Wing. I ever told you the story?
No.
So I roped in with the Protect.
Okay.
And it was painted up like the Texas flag.
Yeah.
And then when we patrolled in, when the sun would come up, I'd pull my nods out, put them in my pouch, and then put my helmet on my med bag. When the gunfight started in the fall, I lost it. It fell with all my kit.
Really?
And then 3 years later, I was summoned out to Warcom, and the Admiral pulled me in the office. I got something for you. And he pulled it out of his thing. A Ranger battalion was doing patrols out there and found it in a cache.
Wow.
I was like, wait, was somebody wearing this? Please tell me that you...
Yeah. Please tell me these brain fragments.
All this blood. But he's like, no, I got it back. That's the one down there is the helmet from the...
Is it really?
From the op, yeah.
Wow. Well, some of my favorite stuff, and this is the anniversary of Red Wings is this week, and we're going to pay tribute at the end of the show. But it's one of my favorite things, Marcus, is come in and to see your memorabilia from it, and to see those links, and to see some of the other cool stuff that you still have from that day. And
look, make no mistake, I was in hell. All right, we were expendable assets. There's nothing. I know what it took to come get me. All right, yeah. Everybody in theater had to, and back home had to work to get me out of there, and bring the boys back. Make no mistake. And the things people send me, like we talk about when I die in my will, the treasures I leave all over this country are the ones that have been sent to me. Some of them show up and people give them. I can't believe it. That's why I stand in there like I do all the time.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's amazing. Thank y'all for that.
And
for those of you who send me something and you're not sure if I got it, when I do get it, man, ask these guys. It's posted up. Like I have. That's what's hanging up. Not anything I earned. It's what somebody else earned.
So listen. Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here along with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell, and over behind the green curtain is the Wizard. Bum, 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 bum.
I'm really becoming quite accustomed to that.
You should.
I'm starting to enjoy
the drum thing. We need that.
Right?
The big
maybe a kazoo. We should do a kazoo in there with them.
No accordion.
You need a kazoo, a banjo.
The next word out of my mouth was banjo because you just listed the most irritating instruments ever created.
Brother, why do you think I just listed them?
Hey, one of the guys in my first platoon was from Kentucky, and he could pick a banjo like nobody's business, man.
And it sounded good, didn't it?
It did.
Well, I just watched a special with Steve Martin and Martin Short, and Steve Martin,
he's an accomplished banjo player.
He won a Grammy. Right? Won a Grammy for dude. That thing's badass. So I don't know where you come off saying that thing is horrible.
It's still the most irritating instrument.
Well, if somebody doesn't know how to pick it, if you don't know how to talk to it right, make it talk
back. That makes sense.
No.
That makes sense. Well, welcome to our show. If you're a first-time listener, man, do we have a show in store for you? I mean, our guest today is one of my favorite people that's out there making an impact in the world, especially on social media. I love all the stuff. I love seeing him with our boys over at Black Rifle Coffee Company. I mean, he's just, he's full of piss and vinegar. He's full of just compassion. I just love Crispy. He's going to be amazing. If you're coming back over and over and over for all of our shows, you're one of the ones responsible for coming up on 6 million downloads. Hot damn, we love you. I mean, we love you. We're passionate for you because it's you. It's you and you telling your friends, taking it out there. You've seen somebody that's struggling. You've gone to them and said, hey, man, you need to listen to this show. It's going to pick you up. It's going to lift you. It's going to get you back in the fight of life. We love you because you are help spreading the word. Because honest to God, we have not spent one dime on promoting this show, doing anything out there. It's all happening organically. It's on you guys, and we just love
this
you.
is your fault.
Why'd you have to make it negative, dude? we love them.
No, we absolutely do.
Yeah, okay, we do. We love you 100%.
The word of mouth thing is
It's the best because you know it's real, right? Because you know it's real. So thank you for participating. If you want to know more about our show, if you want to know more about what it is we do and why we're doing it, who we've had on, and most importantly, if you want to read some really amazing Never Quit stories, because we ask our listeners, once you've heard the show, you've been inspired, to send in your greatest Never Quit story, upload it onto our website at tnqpodcast.com. That's tnqpodcast.com, where you can upload your greatest Never Quit story or the greatest story of your friends, your father, your mother, who we don't care. But we're creating this beautiful community, guys. I mean, literally page after page after page of these stories, Marcus.
It's amazing. Like we were talking, it's kind of one of them deals where you're in that bad spot, and it's a life coach, because they get out and they tell these stories that
help people.
They're unique in their own because of the individual going through it, but everybody has that same kind of situations you're going to drop into.
Well, we're connected in pain, right? We're connected in our emotional pains.
I mean, you're giving people intel on situations they probably hadn't even been in yet, but it's going to happen just because life happens, right?
Exactly.
And that's the cool part about it, man. It's like prepping for an op. The more you listen, the more it opens up, and it does, man. I sit here and listen to these people, and then when I go out on the road, it resonates. Things that they've told me and places that I go now, it's amazing.
I get the same thing. I mean, now, it's people are coming out, and it's not about the videos I've done. It's more about now the show, and they want to share their Never Quit story specifically with me.
Oh, this a total stranger come up to me, and I'll sit and listen to, because, hey, man, it's like I listen to the podcast. They tell you which one.
Exactly.
And then
at the time it happened,
they're not even talking about me, or they're just like talking to me about their relationship with our guest. I don't think it's any better than that.
No, not at all.
That's what it is, because no story speaks to everyone. But every single story speaks to someone directly.
Amen.
Really? And so we put these shows out, but it gets so, it's expanded so much with the reader stories, because inside every single one of those are little details that connect with certain individual people when they read them. So it's just expanding the impact of this whole reach that our community now has.
Sure, man. Explain it. Hell, there's people in situations, I don't even know it's a situation until they listen. They're like, oh, is this that? Okay, all right, got it now. Now I know.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. And that's an incredible thing. That's the reason why we're doing this. It's such a beautiful thing. And so please go to the website, check out those. When you're there, if you feel like it, go over to our merchandise. We've got some great Team Never Quit podcast specific shirts for sale, as well as some other Team Never Quit swag as well. And we're getting ready to deliver some more swag. We're working on some hats and cups and all kinds of things for you guys. And the last thing I want to say is, if you want to follow us, we're all out there on social media. Please go follow Marcus at Marcus Luttrell. I'm at Team Frog Logic, and so is the Wizard. He's out on social media, and just search
Wondering
on Instagram.
About the barren wasteland of the social medias.
Again, with the negative, bro. It's a positive if you make it
I'm
positive.
I'm doing my part to try to make it better.
Oh, there you go. Now that's positive. Thank you for that.
Bittersweet.
No, it's not bittersweet. It's only in your brain is it bittersweet. It's cool. All right.
You're cool.
Thank you, Wizard. Thank you. I know I'm not, but I try. All right. Give us a little feedback before our guest comes on. Well, who is Omar, and what do we need to know?
Omar Avila Crispy, originally, like we said, from Brownsville, Texas, former U.S. Army sergeant who incurred some significant injuries, burns and whatnot. We'll get into some detail on that. He's now become a motivational speaker, a motivator to thousands upon thousands of people, also a professional power lifter. His military service started, he decided to join when he was 15 years old after September 11th. That's where he was. So 3 years later, he enlists Army Infantry, first deployment, 2004. Second deployment, 2006. He's in Baghdad. Leading right into his injury.
And he got shot in his first deployment, too.
He did.
Yeah.
He took a round his first
He's a Purple
deployment.
Heart winner, yeah.
Yep. Comes back in 2006, and in the lovely neighborhood of Adamia, Baghdad. Fantastic little neighborhood there. Anyways.
Prime real estate.
Yeah. His group is patrolling through that area when they take a minor IED hit, which then gets followed on in this complex ambush attack by a major, they later determined to be about a 200-pound buried IED. This directly strikes his Humvee, which launches, that's about an 8 to 10,000 pound vehicle, depending on what year and addition of armored package it had. It launches this thing into the air several feet. This starts a massive fire. He himself is caught on fire in this process. One of his teammates is immediately killed. 2 more on fire inside. He recovers himself, and I'm sure we'll get into some more detail on this. He recovers himself, is able to return fire while he himself is on fire.
Say that 20 times fast.
To cover his teammates so they could dismount the vehicle. He eventually himself is forced to, due to rounds cooking off, climbs to the roof, jumps off onto the ground, breaks both femurs.
Wow.
He later, wakes up 3 months later, VA hospital, San Antonio, and goes through a long, long process of healing. Burns are horrible things to recover from. Long story short, he is known now for a lot of work he does with charities, various veteran organizations. He has a massive social media following, as well as I believe one of the personal things he really enjoys doing is helping burn children, and being a role model and a light to help guide them through a very difficult process. He's also he has a couple Paralympic world records in powerlifting.
Awesome.
He's quite a gifted athlete, even now with these injuries. So I think it's going to be fascinating to get him on.
Amazing what those injuries unlock into the mental capacity.
Right? That's a great point.
Yeah,
we're going to have to get into that.
You know what I mean? That transformation.
Yeah.
If it would have been capable of
before and after,
full force,
right? I love it.
But if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he would have never known that.
Nope.
The things they discover going through that process, for sure.
That the outside of you, as it's healing and it's been corrupted and damaged or even broken, man, the inside of you is changing because of what had happened on the outside. It's like making a mental condition for it. Depending on which direction you go, man, it's that, look what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get Crispy on, and man, deep in the heart of Texas. Marcus, dude, I'm telling you, we've had a lot of people on this show that have been blown up. There's a lot of people on this story that have gone on to do incredible, amazing things after suffering some catastrophic injuries, right? But every one of these people has this powerful story to get on about how they got back in the fight, how they got out there, how they started to have more profound impact. But brother, I'm telling you, this one for me is a big one because not only is he out there making the very best of the world around him and doing it like he's still on fire, but he also is getting out there and helping kids as well too. And that is near and dear to my heart, man.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's one thing, we all have our never quit moments. And then there's levels of that. But when the injury that you sustain during that moment, it's visible and stays with you on the outside, that in itself is tough to deal with and get past as well. That's when time heals all wounds.
Right.
And it's tough for people to shoot through that. But when you find somebody, you see somebody who's been through more than you have and has a better attitude than you do. I mean, what do
I got to bitch about at all in my life when I'm standing next to Omar? You know what I mean? There's nothing. So Let's bring him on without further ado. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the show, Mr. Omar Crispy Avila. Brother, welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Dude, I told you when we first got on before we started, it is a true privilege and honor, man. I'm close with Evan and friends with some of those others, but to watch you and your progression and how you're making an impact in the world you're around you by giving the people that you come in contact with perspective. And your perspective, in my opinion, is spot on in so many ways. So it is, again, a true honor and privilege you being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I've had a lot of messages on Instagram, people telling me to reach out to you guys through the podcast. But I didn't want to intrude or be that guy and be like, hey, you need to have me on. So when you guys reached out, I was kind of excited. So I'm not gonna lie, I think a lot of the guys are gonna be excited when they hear that we're doing this together.
Oh my God, I read them all too. People have been constantly get Crispy on, and unfortunately, because our recording schedule is pretty sporadic. Wizard is only around for a little bit of time here. When we do set up, it's only like 8 people at a time, and whereas everybody else. They're doing the podcast every week and it's consistent and it's all this. So I knew at some point we were gonna get you, man. And I'm just again so awesome. All right, before we jump in, to the fire, so to speak, about your never quit story, we have got to get warmed up. And if I use any more like fire puns, that you're not cool, just say, Rut, shut up, would you please? Enough. They're getting old now. But we got to get warmed up. We got to get loosened up. We got to develop some awesome rapport. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you through what we call the Mad Minute. Now, I'm telling you what, I know you've been confronted with some hard things in your life, but nothing in your life has prepared you for the intensity, for the brutality, for the horrific nature of these questions that we're about ready to throw at you. So are you ready, Crispy?
Come on.
All right, Marcus, fire away.
All right, brother. If you could change your name to anything, what would it be?
Man, I'd probably say either, I forgot the character's name. Big dude from the X-Men that had the big helmet that just runs through the wall. Juggernaut.
I love it. So I guess that answers the last question too, which is what's your favorite cartoon?
Oh, I guess I get a good pass over like that.
Dude, that's awesome. All right, Wizard.
All right, man. What is the worst vacation or worst vacation moment you've ever had?
When I visited California. I went out there and it was just horrible.
The whole state in itself?
I mean, well, not the whole state, just a certain part. Because I've been to different places and it was okay. Being a two-way guy, it was just kind of, it was rough for me.
There's something un-American about some of it, right? Not that because obviously we grew up in San Diego and all that, but there's just something about kind of your civil liberties and freedoms that just seems a little tight out there, right?
Restrictive.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, here you go. If you could travel back in time to any moment in history and go out and have a beer with somebody and just for like an hour and a half, who would that person be and when?
I will go back to World War II era and sit down with General Omar Bradley.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of World War II stuff, and it's always just kind of. I've always told people if I would have gotten the option to pick what war I wanted to be in, it would have been World War II. And then the cool thing about it is, obviously, my name's Omar as well, and I actually was a gunner and a Bradley from time to time. So there's little pieces there that kind of matched. So I just became a fan of the guy.
That's awesome, man. I never would have expected that, man. That's really cool.
What would you like to ask him, for example?
Yeah, just strategies. What he was thinking when he sent certain troops to certain parts of Germany. Just kind of pick his brain on just different scenarios that took place and how he would feel knowing that he was going to be replaced.
Yeah, that's wild, right? Having the future perspective as well, too.
It'd be something to stand next to, just if you could travel back and stand next to him and even just watch it go down. And that's on both sides of it, too. To actually be in the room when Hitler and all them guys were giving the commands for that crazy ass. Yeah, that's something. That war in itself, man. That's all wars, really, but that one, god dang.
All right, Marcus, fire away.
All right, brother, what's the last thing you really screwed up and no one found out about?
Shit. I think I went, we were hunting somewhere and I accidentally overshot the animal, but for some reason the bullet dropped faster than it should have happened. I made a great shot and everybody in the blind was like, yeah, you got him. And I just looked around. I was like, yeah, I did.
Yes,
That's right, I did. You better believe it.
Ta-da!
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're like, great shot. I was like, thanks. It's an 800-yard shot on a pronghorn, and
Oh, man.
I timed it a little wrong, and it just hit him right smack in the middle, so I was kind of happy.
Awesome.
That's a good shot because these things move out. They don't stay in one spot very long. At 800 yards, it's a good punch.
Yeah, it is.
Right? All right, if you could pick a sidekick to accompany you through life, would you pick Walter from The Big Lebowski, Chewbacca from Star Wars, George Costanza from Seinfeld, or Tonto from The Lone Ranger?
Damn, I think I'm going to go with Chewbacca just because I kind of need some muscle next to me, you know what I mean? They're going to see this 6'something and 6'2" guy walk in. Ain't nobody gonna mess with the bar, so
no.
I go with Chewbacca.
All right.
I mean, because all the guys
bodyguard.
you listed, right? Chewbacca.
Yeah.
So if you walking through life with that Joker, man, every day is going to be interesting.
One with an alien, two with Bigfoot, the alien.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, that's genius. I love it. I love it.
Especially if you try to dress him up in normal clothes.
All right, if there's ever a moment in the future that you want to see happen, what is that moment?
Oh man, that's a dang.
That's a big one. I
That's
know.
a broad question.
That is I mean, anything.
Anything, dude. Anything. Freedom to choose.
Space Force. I definitely want to be part of that.
Hey, man, I'm there with you on that one.
Did you watch JT's tryout video he just posted,
I did.
dude? Oh,
That's
my
hilarious.
God.
I want to be able
Absolutely.
to be part of that.
They got to have some knuckle draggers on that force, right? I mean,
Dude,
because every movie they do.
Bro.
So we don't have to be brilliant or science or anything. Man, just be like, hey, look, man, I halfway know what space means, and I can carry a rifle. Let's go.
I should be a door gunner.
That's what everybody's been posting is the door gunner post.
I wouldn't be terrified of parachuting in space. You jump out of the plane, he's like, I know I'm not going to crash, burn down to the ground at 100 miles an hour.
All right, Marcus, final question.
All right. What's the dumbest way you've ever injured yourself?
Going to war.
Sign on the dotted line. Go from there.
No kidding. Man, I do a lot of powerlifting and I move a little bit of weight here and there. And I think the dumbest way I got injured one time is I was actually benching pretty heavy and I got up too fast and I pulled my groin. Everybody was like, were you deadlifting? Were you squatting? Well, you know, what was the story? And I was like, I just got up really fast. I was out for a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's epic.
That's in the gym. That's where
That's
always
when
get jacked up in the
dumbest
gym,
ways, the dumbest thing. Dude, I almost broke my kneecap the other day getting into my shower.
Well, and I don't even toss steel around anymore, and it's not a lot. I'm in there. You ever had one of those bands break on you, smack you in the face? Dude, not only do you look like a dipshit, I mean, it hurts.
It's a giant rubber band in your
draw
face.
blood, it just draws everything up to that point, right? Like your face, like, man, I thought I saw God for a second. I got hit so hard.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. That is the Mad Minute. Well, it turns out it's like 10 minutes, but We want to thank you for participating, but the reason why you're here, Crispy, the reason why our listeners keep coming back in droves is because they're in a spot in their lives where they're going through some stuff. They need a challenge, as we all face on a regular basis, but they're just searching. They don't have that little trigger. They don't have the ability to ignite that fire in their gut to really climb feet first, head first into the fight of life. And so, if you could, without further ado, would you please share your greatest never quit story or stories?
Yeah, I guess I'll touch on the day that I got wounded, and that's kind of where everything started for me. The mentality of never quit, keep pushing forward, and things could always be worse. So I guess I'll jump into that. I was in Iraq in a town called Avila on a deployment in 2006, 2008 with the 1st Infantry Division. We were stationed out of Germany. So we got there. This was the last place that Saddam Hussein had been seen before he went into hiding. So the area hadn't been patrolled in about 3 years until we got there. So they had a little bit of time to set up a stronghold and place IEDs all over the place. We did our left seat, right seat with the guys before us. I think we were 10 months into the deployment when, we got award from our command. That's the first year that they extended us from 12 months to 15 months.
Ouch.
I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you guys did what, 6-month tours or whatever?
Couple months, couple weeks here and there, and then we're gone.
Yeah, 'cause it gets hot over there, man.
Dude, sandstorms.
I mean, it's miserable.
Skype goes out.
No
right?
internet.
No
in the
internet.
right,
Dude,
man? Just
special ops. We can't handle that.
So we got extended 15 months. I got hit at 11 months, so we should have kind of been getting ready to move out of our AO to allow someone else to come in. So it all started May 14th, man, just like any other day. We went out on patrol. It was early in the morning. It was about 6. We got ready. I mounted my Humvee, got my 50 cal ready, got my ammo, made sure I had extra hand grenades, had everything in the truck. We roll out, and I want to say about an hour into the patrol, a small IED goes off, and the last vehicle, it was 5-vehicle convoy doing patrols. Small IED hits the back, and we kind of pull over, assess the situation, see what's going on. Nothing happened. It was just flat tire, the spare tire on the Humvee, so we keep pushing forward. I'm going to say about 10-15 minutes later, we start being engaged from our 6 o'clock. We're traveling 12 o'clock. We're taking from our 6 o'clock, and the first 2 vehicles had to push forward because the fire that was coming, the bullets that were coming by was too heavy that they couldn't turn on. If they would have turned head on, the gunners could have gotten hit pretty bad.
Right. So
first 2 vehicles pushed forward, and I was in the 3rd vehicle, and we turned. As soon as we turned, I started unloading my 50 cal. Dropped about 2 or 3 of them. They kind of stopped. And as soon as we all came back in the line, so our vehicle became the first vehicle of the whole convoy, and we start patrolling, trying to find these guys. We get re-engaged again. We take another left, and as we take that left, as soon as we did, we went over this bump. And like I mentioned earlier, man, just being there for over 11 months at the time, we knew the area pretty well. I knew how to get
your
back.
Backyard, huh?
It was. So I was trying to process that speed bump and what was going on. I was like, this should not be here. And as I was doing that, the loudest IED that I had ever heard went off. And by this time, I've been blown up a handful of times.
Wow.
And this by far was the loudest one. And the guys behind us said the vehicle went up about 4 to 5 feet in the air. And you guys know up armor Humvees aren't.
They're heavy as shit.
Light,
yeah.
Heavy. So later on, we found out they had actually.
And you're in the turret, right? You're up top.
I am in the turret.
Okay.
There's 5 of us in the vehicle: gunner, TC, the driver, the TC, gunner, and 2 passengers in the back. So it was a total of 5 of us. So what they did is they actually made a tunnel from one of the houses into the road and started packing it with explosives.
Wow.
Later on, we found out it was 200 pounds of explosives that they had packed in there.
Holy.
And in a way, I guess you can say we got kind of lucky because they were supposed to detonate the IED right in the middle of the Humvee, killing everybody inside. I think the guy panicked a little bit and hit it at the end once the Humvee was almost over, and that's kind of what blew us up. Well, when that happened was the fuel tank, all that diesel spread everywhere and caught on fire.
Wow.
When we came down. And I remember being on my gun, and when we made the impact on the ground, my legs gave out, and I fell down towards the right passenger where Harkey was at. And I remember looking into Harkey's eyes, and they were, white as can be. Harkey had been killed instantly. I mean, I don't think he felt anything. He was gone. So I remember laying on his lap, and I remember just everything. It was kind of me laying there asking God, for forgiveness. I had lost faith in Him at 11 months. We had lost in the total of 36 guys in our whole battalion.
Omar.
Mm-hmm.
We had lost about 15 just in our company. Guys that we got to see every day. We were in a COP in Iraq, and it was we were far away from everybody. So everybody was so close. So, every other couple of days you were losing a friend and a really close brother. And it was just, when stuff like that started happening, I started questioning God, like, why are you allowing things like this to happen?
Can I ask a real quick question before you go on? Did you have a lot of faith before that in your life?
I did. I always been, faith has always been a big part of my family and me. And, we always went to church and just good at christening people.
He's from Brownsville, Texas. He goes to church. Okay.
Dude, I'm not from Texas.
That wasn't an insult, brother.
Listen,
I'm sorry. I should have cut that off earlier.
You guys, you have your own Texas language. I know nothing about it.
South Texas, you gotta go to church.
Texas boy, man.
So I remember just laying in the middle of that turret and looking around, and I looked to my left and I saw Fleming jump out of the Humvee on fire, and everything was so slow yet so fast. And like I said, I remember laying on that Humvee, and I remember asking God for forgiveness for losing faith, and I started asking Him to take care of my brother and my sister, let my brother step up and be that older brother for my sister, because I'm the oldest of three. And I remember my dad did a little time in the military. He was a tanker. So I kind of understood that my dad was going to be okay. He was going to understand and was just going to handle it the right way. But I was more worried about my brother, my sister, and my mom.
Wow.
And so I was asking him to take care of them. And as all this was going on, I just remember looking to my left, and that's when I saw Fleming jump out of the Humvee. And like I said, everything was so fast, yet so slow. And I remember watching him run on fire towards behind the Humvee. And after that, I lost sight of him. And same thing with our driver. He jumped out, and I couldn't see him anymore. And Campos was still in the truck. He couldn't get out because his equipment was burning into the seat, and he was glued in. And I remember he touched me, and he's like, get out now. And I just looked at him, and I said, no, man, I'm done. It's either, to me, it was either you come home or you don't. I never understood that there was get wounded, come home, and live somewhat of a normal life. That wasn't
an option.
Part of the plan. Yeah, that wasn't part of the plan. And to me, just die in combat, like everybody knows, it was going to be glory for me. That's
honorable.
That's kind of, yeah, if I was going to go, that's the way that I wanted to go. And, in the midst of things, he kept pushing me to get out. He's like, get out of here. You need to get out.
I hate cut you off, but this is everybody talks about these moments, or not everybody, but people that have been in those death moments and made peace. Did you feel other than, and maybe, did you feel some sense of relief in that? Did you feel some sense of calmness? What were you feel like? And I know it's crazy to ask this, but could you slow it down and describe it?
Yeah, it was, just making peace with God, man. At that moment, right then and there, I didn't really care what was going to happen. I had a sense of of peace, and just comfort. I knew that I was going to be okay because I had asked for forgiveness, and I knew that he was going to answer my prayers. And at that moment, right then and there, it was just I was relieved. I said, "Okay, here we go. This is it."
Awesome.
So I just kind of laid there, just waiting for it to happen. And I was late there, and Comp was telling me to get out. I give God 100% credit to this day, man. I felt this inner light in me, kind of something that just grasped me and said, "Not today. This is not what you die. Get up."
Amen.
And I got up, and there was a couple of insurgents on the rooftop. And I remember manning my 50 cal, and I started shooting at them. And as I did that, since the vehicle at this point, there was flames everywhere, some of the rounds started cooking off. And when I went to take another shot, one of the rounds actually exploded inside the 50 cal and kind of blew up the barrel.
Really?
And at that point, yeah, it just started popping off. I think
Wow.
it was about to pull the trigger. It's when that round kind of came out wrong or something, and it's just all I remember is it exploded in front of me. And at that point, I said, "Okay, I need to get out." So I started looking for a game plan. And as a gunner, we're always taught to either jump in front of the engine and then down, or through the back. And I couldn't do either of those things because both sides were on fire. If I would have jumped in the in front of the hood, I would have gone straight down with the engine, and that would have been it. And the back, there was no question. I couldn't go back there. It was all on fire from the diesel.
I'm sorry. Were you Nomexed up?
Was that what?
What were you wearing? Did you have Nomex on, or were you just wearing your coveralls?
You didn't have that stuff on.
Yeah, right, sure.
Man's covered in BDU nylon. He's covered in BDU nylon.
Yeah, BDU
He's
nylon.
Alright.
It's just gonna melt too.
The most melting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't get none of that stuff. I'll touch on that later because it's funny when I was in the hospital. But so I decide, I got up on the, I was getting out of the turret, and I was getting out, like I mentioned earlier, we had extra ammo and grenades and stuff, and something exploded in the Humvee. I don't remember what it was. I think it was one of the grenades, but as I was getting out, it blew up and caught a bunch of shrapnel on my right leg, and my right foot took most of it. Mm-hmm. Later on, we ended up amputating the foot. But as I was getting out, like I said, all that stuff went off, and I knew I needed to get out. And as I was getting out, I jumped to the left side of the Humvee, and when I hit the ground, I broke both of my femurs. They just popped out.
Wow.
And I remember looking at them, and I said, "Oh shit!" And I remember being on fire, and I, immediately stopped, drop, and roll. And I had already dropped and everything, so I started rolling. And let me tell you, when I find out who invented the stop, drop, and roll, I'm going to sue the shit out of them because it doesn't work.
That just looked like somebody rolling on the ground on fire.
Some marketing asshole from the fire department back in the 50s came up with that shit, right?
Oh, yeah. So thankfully, one of the guys from the last Humvee ran all the way to the front where I was at and put me out with a fire extinguisher. And he said, "Close your eyes." And I was like, "Why?" And before I can say why, he just sprayed me everywhere. And he put me out, and he said, "I'll be right back. Let me go get the medic." And I said, "Okay." Before I jumped out, I managed to grab my M4, and I started pushing myself away from the truck because I can still feel the fire. And I pushed myself towards the door of the house, and I took 3 shots at the door. And just to make sure somebody was coming, I could drop them, lucky shot or something. And unfortunately, no one ever came out. So I pushed myself closer to the door, and I started scanning the rooftops. And I just kept popping shots here and there. I finally ran out of that mag. And as I was laying there, one of the other guys ran by and looked down. And I kind of moved, and he stopped and said, "Are you alive?" And I remember just looking up at him and saying, "I think so."
Moments of truth.
That's so awesome, man.
Hold on, let me check.
Yep. So he's like, "All right, man, we got to get you to the Humvee so we can start treating you." And I said, "Okay." but I think my legs are broken. And he takes a quick glance at me. And he goes, no, you're okay. And I said, all right, cool. So he picks me up, and I started putting all my pressure on him because, my legs were jacked up. And we started walking. And as we get closer to the Humvee, he goes to open the door, and he goes, all right, man, I'm going to have to let you go because I got to open this door. It's pretty heavy. And I said, cool, do it. And as he's doing that, he lets go of me, and all my weight went back into my legs, and my femur was broke again. Oh! And I remember just seeing him, the Humvee, and looking at the sky, and I hit the ground so hard.
And you're like, you asshole!
Did he ask you if you were alive again? I'd have been like, hold on, let me see if I can fly. No, can't fly. Is there a beer in my hand? No, I'm still alive.
He hovers over me and he goes, are you okay? And I remember looking at him like, I told you my legs were broken.
You idiot.
Like, man, stop asking me stupid questions. Give me the truck.
And as we're doing that, I remember hearing two Black Hogs. Now I know they're Black Hogs, but I remember hearing two birds flying over us. And in the back of my head, I was like, holy shit, this is the fastest medevac ever. Whoever called that 9-line, holy shit. Well, what had happened is there was two Black Hogs in the area, and they had seen the smoke pop up from the Humvee, so they came to check it out. And then they set up comms with the guys in the ground, and they told them what was going on. Well, in that instant, there was about 30 to 40 insurgents coming our way, and those two Black Hogs were able to come down and just smoke them all. I mean,
nice.
Both of them came down and smoked them, and there I am like, all right, cool. Am I getting on the bird? And they're like, no, that's not a medevac bird. I'm like, shit.
It is now. I christen you medical bird. Get your ass down here. That's what the medic's jobs is. He's like, hey, come on down.
Oh, shit.
They fired, and they took those guys out, and they got up back in the air, and they said they were going to go refuel because they were running missions earlier, and they were low on fuel. But my guy picks me up, puts me inside the Humvee. He's like, all right, man. The medic's coming, stay in here. They're going to work on you. And I said, okay. Well, like I mentioned earlier, at that point, we had lost so many guys that we were getting replacements. Uh-huh. And the driver on the new Humvee was his first day on the ground, first day in combat, first day in theater, first day everything.
No way.
And can't blame the guy. He's freaking out a little bit. He's kind of caught off guard.
First day, I'm sure he's like, is every day going to be like
this? Oh, my God, yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah, he's like, this wasn't in my contract.
The recruiter lied to
me. So as soon as he's screaming and he's scared, and like I said, I can't blame the guy, man. Honestly, like it's just, damn, what a scenario for the first day,
Yep.
So I did what any other NCO would have done. I reached over and I slapped the shit out of him and told him to shut the fuck up.
How come that works in every branch? That's like the be all.
Snap out of it.
That's in the handbook, I think. It's in the Blue Jacket manual.
Not anymore, You can't do shit like that anymore.
That's true.
But he calmed down, and I said, dude, it's okay. Relax. And as I was doing that, our medic jumped in the Humvee, and he grabbed my right arm and starts giving me an IV. And I remember looking at him, and I just got this freaking urge of just drinking water, man. I was so thirsty. And I said, Doc, give me a water bottle, Doc. I'm thirsty. And he's like, I can't give you any water. You're severely burnt. He's like, we got to get you in. I can't give you any water. And I looked at him. I was like, dude, I outrank you. Give me some fucking water now. And, he's like, all right. And he gives me a water bottle. And I made the biggest mistake of my life. I drank a little bit, and I poured the rest in my head.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, all the chemicals from the IED, all that stuff, and the fire extinguisher all went in my eyes. And I went blind for a little bit. And, the medic's working on me. And the driver doesn't know where the hell we're at. And at that point, I grabbed the radio to give me the radio. I want to see what's going on. He gives me the radio, and I hear we're going to start pushing. And I remember asking him, I was like, where are we in the formation? He goes, we're the first vehicle. And I was like, shit. So I called up the company, and I told them I got 1 KIA, and I got 4 severely wounded. They were able to pull out combos. One of the guys ran to the Humvee, caught a round in his side plate that was cooking off from inside the Humvee. Caught, I think it was a 5.56 round that hit him in the side plate. Was able to pull out combos, and they pulled out Harkey as well. Obviously, Harkey was dead. And I remember coming over the radio and said, "First vehicle, we're pushing out now. We got to get out of here." At that point, our QRF has showed up, and they were already set up. They were engaging the enemy, and we were pushing forward to get us out of the kill zone and into getting some medical aid. And I remember telling myself I can either panic or I can stay calm and guide this guy back so we can all get back safe and start getting treated. So I knew exactly where we were. I knew exactly where we needed to turn and how to get back to the cop. So I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, "Hey, we're going to go straight for about 300 yards. You're going to take a left. There's a pink house on the right-hand side." And we start pushing, and he's like, "Okay, I see it. I said, "Take that left." And I remember this house, for some weird reason, they had a huge bell in their front yard, just a massive bell from a church or something. And I said, "You're going to see this bell in that corner." And he's like, I see it coming up. I said, "You're going to take a right. And then after that, you're going to gun it." You start seeing the cop. Our cop was literally in the middle of the city. Or we were in the corner of the city, but we were within the city. Mm-hmm. And I said, "You're going to start seeing it?" And he goes, "I see it." So I called up company. I said, open the gates, we're coming in." So we roll in. And I remember we only had 3 medics as we were rolling in, and there was 4 of us wounded. And I pulled up, and one of the medics opened the door, and they tried to grab me. But when he grabbed me, my skin was burnt off. That when he did this, all the skin came off my arms. And I pushed him away, and I closed the door, and I said, "Go get the other guys. They're worse than I am." And they're looking at me like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, go get the other guys. It's 3 of you, and there's 4 of us." And finally, another guy opens the door, and it happened to be there was an SF group right next to us. We hardly ever saw them or anything, but they were there. And their medic heard all the shit that was going on, so he ran over to come help. And I had a couple conversations with him in the past, and I knew who he was, so he opened the door. He's like, "Hey, I'm here. We need to get you out." And I got you. And I was like, "Okay." So he pulls me out. They get a stretcher. They load me up in a stretcher. We go inside the aid station. And at that point, I remember they put me in. I was one of the first ones. And he starts working on me, and one of the other medics jumps on me and starts working on me as well. And then he kind of moves away, and my other 2 medics start working on me. They had stabilized one of the other guys. And Campo was the last one that came in. And I remember looking at him, and I was like, "Hey, man, we're going home." And at that point, he wasn't talking or anything. He just nodded his head. And I was like, "Okay." So I'll get in there. And they start treating us. And I just remember looking at the medic, and I was like, "Dude, I'm hurting." And he's like, "Are you?" I was like, "Yeah." And my adrenaline had gone away from everything. When my body hit that bed, my adrenaline was gone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
From helping this guy to get back in, everything, because I realized that we were in the cop and we were safe. And so all that adrenaline went away, and I started feeling the pain. And this is pain that I've never, ever felt in my life.
Oh, my God.
I haven't even experienced that now. And I've done all the stupid shit, and I haven't felt pain like that. And I remember telling him, I was like, "I need some morphine." And he's like, hold on. I'm gonna get you right now. Hold on. And I just kept asking for it. And then he finally sticks me. And I was in La La Land, man. I was just happy.
Hey,
And,
butterfly. There's my puppy.
Did you just say, "There's my puppy"?
Yeah, there's my puppy. I forgot about that. God dang, dude. That's right. I forgot about the crash. Because when they put me on the gurney the first time when I on the bird, and I actually knew that when you see your boys around you and they're helping you, like, you're safe. You're only safe when you guys are around you, right? And I didn't have that. So my adrenaline and fear. This is going through Hell Week again.
Yeah.
So I did the Hell Week crash afterwards.
Wow.
And I forgot about that. I was like, I'll never forget that, doctor. If she ever listens to these, I love that lady so much, man. I've never been able to see her again, but she leaned over. She's like, "Baby, are you in pain?" I was like, I am now. She introduced me. Oh, dude, I got the pennies hit me in the back of the throat. I was like, what? Puppy.
You'll never forget that moment.
The first time, when they hit you, I never had anything like that in my system before, man. And I was like, what?
Same here. Oh yeah, I was like, oh shit. Dude, it was pretty fucked up because I remember grabbing one of my medics and I grabbed him and I said, dude, if I die, it's on you.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Oh, you take that with you.
Yeah. All the drugs in me.
That's why I always led with, if I had to work, I was like, hey, man, you're probably not going to make it out of this. I'm sorry, but I'm the only medic you got.
That's some twisted shit.
Yeah, you must have. Sorry.
I'm lucky now that he lives probably 20 minutes from me, and I get to see him every now and then. And
that's cool.
Since then, he's retired out of the military. But yeah, every time I see him, I'm like, dude, I owe you another pack of beer, another 6-pack. Here you go.
That's cool.
I still talk with the medic who got a hold of me. T.O. He was in. He's coming out too, man. He's one of the main ones I keep talking to. I don't know something.
Medics, baby.
Yeah,
they
he's
save
right
your
there.
life.
Always taking gas, man. I'll never love you too, brother. Man.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, man. Like growing up and watching all those military movies, I never really understood the brotherhood till I was part of it. And I remember always watching and reading stuff about 2 World War veterans get together every Sunday and share a drink or they go out to eat and they stay in touch. I never really understood it. You grew up with your friends in high school and you play football and you do all this cool stuff and you think you're going to be boys for the rest of your lives, but you both grow up and you kind of go you go separate ways, different lives and different lifestyles. But man, we're a brother from the military, and that person that has experienced that traumatic incident with you, and you tend to stick with that person. You tend to reach out to them more than you reach out to anyone else, and there's just that connection there that it doesn't matter if a week goes by, a month, or a year. When you see that person, you go right back to where you left off the last time you saw them.
Most powerful.
In that most critical moment, I mean, how you're reminded of how far this person's willing to go with you, and that's the beautiful thing about the military, man. Is it strips us out of our upbringing, our lives that you get comfortable with, whether guys have money or whether they're poor. And when you're out there going through that crap, if you're the poor guy on the ground and the rich kids taking care of you, the medic saving your life, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter where he's from or anything. That bond is formed, and vice versa too. Even if the poor kid's the medic and the rich kid's on the ground, wherever they came from, that kind of ticks in the back of your head. And you're like, man, this guy's willing to give it. Nothing else mattered. It's the most primitive form of creating it's being reborn, man. Basically,
it's the unconditional love we all hope to find in our lives on a regular basis.
You're reborn with that person right then and there, man.
All right, so after all right. Take us to the point where now, obviously, because you've been burned on the majority of your body, you're facing amputation. Take us from that point forward and what that struggle was like too, Crispy.
So, man, after all was said and done, I had suffered 75% burns to the body, 3rd and 4th degree burns, and I had metatarsal amputation on the right leg, which is kind of like the diabetics get, just half of the foot is gone. So that's due to the explosion, the stuff that was going in. They had to cut half of the foot. They actually found cancer in one of the bones from all the chemicals and everything that was there.
Wow!
So they actually had to pull the whole bone out of one toe, all the way out, and then they amputated halfway. And man, the most complications, I think, being a burn guy is infections, man. It's the worst.
God dang, man. I couldn't work in the burn ward. That's tough, brother.
Yeah,
dude, that smells crazy there. Even when I go back now, man, every time I step in and I go visit a new guy or I go visit a kid that's been severely wounded or so on and so on, every time I step into the burn ward, it's just that smell comes at you and everything just plays back, and you're like, shit.
Can you walk us through the intensity of being a burn victim and what is required for you day in and day out in that recovery? Because I don't think a lot of people understand the magnitude of what that suffering is like.
Yeah. So, like I said, infections is the worst. So, being that I was burnt 75%, they act every that 25% of my body that I wasn't burned, face, head, back, or some of my back, some of my arms, some of my legs had to be grafted. So they use this fuse grater, and they essentially take the first layer of your skin, and they use it to stretch it to put it on my body to cover those burns. It's pretty much like a band-aid on. But once that's done, that's when you start running into complications of infections and the graft not taking. So it had to be done a couple different times.
Oh.
But once it takes, they put you on this metal bed and they take you to the shower and they got to scrape off the dead skin.
Debrading.
And yeah, the first time they did that, man, I remember them. Oof. I used to hate seeing that freaking metal bed, every shower metal bed that they used to bring all the time. It was the worst because every time they laid me on it, they had to scratch every single part on my arms, legs, back, butt, everywhere. It was just needed to be scraped off so that new skin could be born again and just come out stronger. And I remember laying in that bed, man, and every time they did it in the shower, I was just passed out because the pain was too much.
Wow.
That I would wake up in my room with new bandages, not knowing what happened a couple hours later.
And how long was that process? How long were those showers?
That was the first 3 months. It was every day.
Oh, brother.
Every day. So for a total of the 3 months, and not including the other months that I was in an induced coma, because they wanted to keep me calm and make sure I was recovering well, so I wouldn't be moving too much.
And that was first. So the induced coma was first.
It was first.
You wake up, the grafts, then the showers.
Do they have to give you an episiotomy anywhere? Cut the skin? They have to cut the flesh because you're episiotomy. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they did. They did. When I first got to the hospital, I was so swollen just because of the burns and everything. I was very, very swollen. I mean, I look like the Thing, dude, from Fantastic Four.
Right.
Just red and very swollen, so they had to cut certain parts so I could just start coming back down because it was too much. Yeah, so they did that a couple of times, and skin grafts.
In this, Omar, in this dark time, in this pain, in this, obviously, I'm assuming, because we've had so many people talk about the recovery as the hard part, right? Going through that every day, trying to find something to grab onto, to push forward, to make it through the next day, right? What were some of the things? First off, did you think about quitting? And then second off, what did you utilize in your mind so you didn't quit? So you got back up and got into those showers every day?
Meant to me, once I came around and I was actually awake, yeah, there were times where I felt useless. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to perform my job and my duties like I did before. It was easy to see my body and see how jacked up I was. And I realized that I wasn't going to be the same. So that was kind of hard to swallow. And it was just one of those that I struggled with a lot. And
because you were a former all-star football player, you were one of the best defensive ends in the state. You were a basketball player. You were a sergeant. You were lead man. I mean, that's a dramatic shift, right? When that physicality is stripped away.
Yeah, I mean, and it was from the job to sports to just being this very independent guy that everything that I put my mind to, I was able to do, and I was able to just pretty much do anything that I ever wanted, and I knew that I was going to have limitations, and it was hard to swallow. It really was, man. I think that's one of the biggest things I struggled with was, playing sports or being that, the military man that I wanted to be, because I wanted to be a lifer. I was going to be a career guy.
Right.
Those were my dreams. That's what I wanted to do. And it was a hard pill to swallow because I knew that wasn't going to happen. And I knew that being as wounded as I was, the Army was never, ever going to take me back. So that's what I struggled the most. It was very depressing. But at the same time, the thing that brought me out of that was my brother and his girlfriend were expecting a baby, and it was my first niece for everything. I mean, first grandchild. It was just, I wanted to live for that little girl. So her mom used to walk into my room, and she put my hand in her stomach, and she used to tell me, like, Haley wants to meet you. Haley wants to meet your uncle. Wow. You need to push forward. You need to be strong. Like, you need to do this for her. She wants to meet her uncle. And that was honestly what pushed me the most, was knowing that I wanted to meet my niece before I left this earth. And I think that's kind of what gave me the strength to keep pushing forward. And it gave me a purpose. And ultimately, like, that's what we look for in the military. Like, once you're out, you're looking for that mission. You're looking for that purpose.
Amen.
You're looking to stay relevant to something and just be, I mean, I don't even know the word. I just, like, mean something to somebody.
Yep.
And to me, it was her. So when she was born, I was still in the ICU, and then they transferred me over to the burn unit. And I remember them telling me that they couldn't bring her into my room because she was a baby, and there was just so many, like, bacteria and a bunch of stuff in the air that was going to get her sick. So I needed to learn how to walk, to get out of my room, to go to the visitors area, to sit down and carry her. And wow. I did that for about 2 months, man. It was very hard. I didn't have any balance. My legs were weak. I was in a bed for almost 6 months. And
wow.
So I busted my ass, got her in my arms, and the minute that I held my niece, man, that was life-changing for me. That little girl changed my life, like, completely. And she and I have this bond that even my brother says all the time, like, that little girl may be mine, but she's your daughter.
Wow.
She is your daughter, and we're as close as it gets. That, I mean, dude, I give her a lot of credit.
Did she make you start believing in God again?
She did. Went through some very, very dark times, man, where, I didn't want to be around anymore and stuff like that. But I remember just looking at her beautiful face, and everything would change. And it was like, get back on track. Get back on track. You need to be a role model for this little girl, and you need to be around for this little girl when she gets married, when she has kids, when, all the important things, graduating high school, college, and all that stuff. So, in a sense, she was pushing me every single day, and she just did not know the power that she held over me.
Amen.
Yeah, when our kids come in, you look at them, and it's pure goodness. They don't know that crazy world that we had to live in, and when you've had to go to the max extent of what we're capable of, I guess is the best way to say that. Yeah, I remember those times too. Is when you look in those faces, it's like all the good parts of your life come snapshotting through there, and you're willing, like, you know what, man, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure you don't have to go through the crap I did. That's where that overall love comes from for our children, I think, because you see they're the next evolution of us. You want to make sure that they have it better than us. Yeah, you're like, I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want them to, like, you forget that it's important for them to go through some of that stuff. That's the hardest part about being a parent, man.
It
it's
sucks.
Like,
the pain.
I don't want you to, that look on your face, man, when you get hurt, but sometimes you have to get knocked down so you can get back up. But it's incumbent upon us when, later on when we get hurt and we come out on the other side. That's the purest form. If you need a reason why to stand back up and go back online, our kids, because they need us right now, apparently, more than ever.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about when you're saying this, we don't have to put this in there, but it's funny about the military, or it's when it becomes our family. It's a way of life. I mean, it's literally an American way of life. You just throw the uniform on her so everyone makes sure you stay in check throughout the life, because we're trying to live this life together. But we don't keep our injured around very long.
No, we don't. There should be an entire unit for guys that can process.
Like, God dang, man.
Well, the biggest thing for me was, like,
I get it.
I fully understood that I wasn't going to be able to go back on the line, and that was fine. But I asked, I was like, send me to Fort Benning. Let me train the next generation of infantry guys coming in, or whoever, airborne, whatever it was. But put me back where I can make a difference in a young soldier's life and tell them, like, look, dude, you got to pay attention from day one, or it's going to cost lives. And I try to sell that to the recruiters so they can let me stay in, or whoever the crap the guys were there at the hospital. But the one thing that they came back to me and said that I was going to scare all the new recruits, and a lot of them were going to drop off because of my injuries. And I looked at them and I said, good. Get them out.
Exactly.
That was during our sensitive time. I mean, in all actuality, when we pull back from combat, especially the guys that get hurt in it, they need to go through a transitional. And I guess the best way to do that would be put them in the training detachment. And you got to look at it like when they're telling you that, you're like, well, you know what? If I wasn't hurt, I'd be here anyways. So I'm not actually taking up a slot. I'd be giving up one. And then when you go out of the, we know our war is so dynamic, it changes, daily. But the basic parts of it to get the guys ready for it, that doesn't. And when you pull the guys off the line and put them into that training, it actually gives them the time to get upset and bitter again and want to go find something better to do, or just assimilate back in, right?
Totally. Omar, all right, so now you're healed. What was it like making the transition out of the hospital, heading home? You're out of the military, and you have the rest of your life to start to think about. What was that like, and what did you start thinking about doing at that point?
Oh man, that one hit me very hard, because even as I was doing, I was going through my therapy, I still needed to wake up at 7 a.m. and show up for formation and wear my uniform. And whether it be PTs or the regular uniform, I was still in uniform, and I was still, going through the motions of, I needed to report here. I needed to do paperwork for the other young soldiers and stuff like that. So it was always there. And the minute that I retired, it was from one day to the next. And, I remember packing up all my stuff and headed down to Brownsville. And when I got home, I woke up one morning again at 6 a.m, drank some coffee, got up, and I was in my kitchen like, what do I do now?
Wow.
That structure that was there before is no longer here. Who do I report? And I caught myself calling my first sergeant like, hey, and I was like, oh man, I was like, dude, my bad. He's like, no, you're good, man. He's like, you're good for the day. Try to transition in a little better. And I said, roger that. And it was hard for me. There was, like I said, there was no structure. I had no mission. I had nowhere to be. I had all the time in the world, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't have anything at the time. It was hard, and that was very hard for me to deal with, because I had 24 fucking hours and nothing to do.
Yeah.
So I found myself getting overweight and being lazy and falling into the going out with the guys from high school that still haven't grown up, still live at their mom's house, but want to go out and drink and party and go to the bar and start fights and do all that dumb shit that they do in small towns. I caught myself doing that. And, one day I just told myself, I was like, what the hell am I doing in my life? Yeah. And I walked into a gym. One of my buddies had a strength and conditioning gym. I've never been a CrossFitter. I'm just too fat. But they had powerlifting. They had powerlifting in the building, and I was like, man, I want to try powerlifting. And I never did it in high school. I never did it anywhere. And I walked in there, and they were deadlifting. And I looked at him, and I was like, dude, I can't do that. I can't grip with my hands. And he goes, hold on, I got straps. So he strapped my hands, and the first day, I deadlifted 405 like nothing.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Yeah, man. And then the next day we were benching, and it took me a little while to get used to my hands and how to hold the bar. And after that, I was just kind of repping out 315s and stuff like that, just kind of getting to that. And man, that iron bug, dude, bit me hard. And I started doing it at a competitive level. And fast forward a couple of years, man, that's kind of what helped me. That and hunting. Hunting was one of the biggest things in my life, and it's always been a big thing in my life. That's one thing that I do a lot year round, whether it be hogs or, friends that need deer taken off from their place. They got MLB places, and I go help out with the does and stuff like that, wherever it is. I mean, the trophy hunting is cool. It's great. Can't afford it. I'm,
Right.
some places are really expensive, but if I can go anywhere and hunt, I'm happy with it. And so those two things were the main thing for me, man. But powerlifting just kind of, it came out of nowhere, and it was just I developed a technique for deadlifting, for benching, for squatting, and next thing I know, I found myself, deadlifting almost 700 and benching almost 500.
Cow!
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it took off, man, and I was embraced very well by the powerlifting community and everybody in it, and it was just amazing. I felt like I had a purpose again. I felt like I was
part of a brotherhood.
I was showing people that, hey, man, I'm jacked up or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, if you want to put your mind to it and you want to really do something, you're going to find a way. It doesn't matter at what level it is. Even if you started with the bar and 6 months later you're deadlifting 10 pounds, you made progress. You're moving forward. That's 10 pounds that you couldn't do before. And it just took off, man. And that's kind of where I saw my purpose again. And it was, giving people hope, inspiring people. And I went with it. I started doing motivational speaking. I started traveling around the country and speaking at different events and with different people. And I just, it fit, it was a great fit for me. And I saw the potential in me to help others. And I ran with it. And, obviously being burnt and seeing young kids burn, it was a huge passion for me because, I lived a great life. I was in there when I was 21. I did the sports. I did, a military career. I did all those great things, but these kids are burned at a young age that they're never going to be able to experience what I experienced. They're going to be bullied because it's going to happen. Kids are assholes when their parents don't raise them well, so they're going to do all that stuff. And so I took a big interest. I said, you know what? I got a great voice in the community. People tend to listen when I say something. Why not use that platform to not only help military men and women, but these kids that need somebody to be there for them? And every time I will put something out on social media, like, hey guys, my buddy Owen, he loves fishing rods or whatever, and he got a ton of fishing rods. And then I started working with another kid, and this kid loved hats because he was completely burnt, and he loved just wearing hats because it's what kept his head, from not getting sunburned. And I put something out there, and next thing you know, his mom's like, he's got over 100 caps in 3 days. What the heck?
My goodness.
Awesome. And so that felt me like, that made me feel great because I was like, look, I have that voice, and when there's something great and good that I want to do, all I have to is put it out there and people are going to respond to it. So all that stuff came just very hard, and it made me feel like I had a purpose. It made me feel like people that I could use my platform to help anybody. And man, it's just amazing to be able to give back. I guess my time to serve my country was done, but not my community.
Amen.
It's a new thing. I got to serve my community now. So.
Well, before we get into
I'm sorry, man.
No, go ahead.
When you leave, we leave to serve the greater community. And then when you come back, coming up, just serve our community when we come back home. And you're right that I think what gets to us when you get home, especially if you're hurt, right? You're kind of laying around, nothing to do. We've seen every TV show known to man and every movie 500 times because it's been on the point. But literally, I just started with the Admiral. The Admiral was like, get up in the morning, make your bed. That was your routine in the military. So I get up, make your bed, then you get to breakfast, then you're supposed to go work out. So you go work out. That takes up that morning part of the day and just keep that thing rolling. And if you don't have kids and if you're not married, you're right, man. Getting out and teaching the kids how to do something is, man, that's a reward in itself. And the way they look up at you as a soldier, especially a wounded one, look at this, if their eyes like a Terminator or something standing in front of them, right? Especially if you're hardcore about it. And just teach them that discipline if someone else isn't willing to. If they don't have that guidance, man, it's there's nothing wrong with that. Especially when we get to the ages that we're at right now. It's time for us to do that.
That's what it's our responsibility.
Yeah, it's our time.
Our calling.
We were fighting the wars and we raised hell growing up, like fighting and chasing women, all that stuff like that, and burned all that out of our system, get both perspective of it. Now we're back. Now it's time to start teaching the kids.
Omar, what was the length of time since when you got out of the military until you started finding that purpose?
Oh man, about 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it took me quite a bit to realize that I was just throwing my life away.
So I'm wondering, if you would have done it differently, I mean, basically, advice for someone who may be going through that right now, what would you have done differently to have found that purpose maybe sooner, more easily, etc.?
Great question.
I think at the time, because I retired in 2010, and like the social media world wasn't what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like, you can go online and ask questions. But now that we have that technology, we have that platform, I would highly recommend reaching out to different organizations or reaching out to different guys that have transitioned out of the military and have found a job or something that they're doing in their career. I would definitely reach out to those guys and see what resources they used and how they got there. Because, a lot of these guys get out and don't have a plan of what they're going to do when they get out. And they fail to realize that the Army, the Navy, whoever it is, they have something in place that helps you transition out of the military to see what you're going to do when you get out. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys don't use resources because all they want to do is get out, get that DD-214 and move the hell on. And once they get out, it's the same. I've seen it thousands of times. They get out and they're like, oh shit, now what? And it's like, yeah, those resources were there. You didn't want to use them because you thought it wasn't cool, but now you're regretting it. So I definitely push for them to look into that, reach out to somebody, ask for help. It doesn't. A lot of people have this mentality that asking for help is a weakness, and it's not, man. It really isn't a weakness. You need to reach out, man. It takes courage to ask for help.
Amen.
It really does.
That is one of the best parts about having the access that people have with social media. I mean, it's kind of just like you join the military and everybody calls us heroes, right? But you joined the military, you became a hero. You guys that get hurt, man, get injured, lose a leg, get burned, y'all just became superheroes. And our world needs superheroes now. I mean, if I was one of the doctors there, I'd lean over, I was like, I know you're bummed out right now, but check this out. In high school, no guidance counselor ever said, you know what, you should be a motivational damn speaker, man, because that doesn't exist, right? You got to live life and go through the craziest stuff to actually become one of those and be able to pass that down. So while you're laying there burned up, missing some legs, Doc Lean will be like, congratulations, you've just been transformed into a superhero and you're going to change lives. And when you walk out of there, like, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I was like, I'm going to change people's lives with this.
That's
Watch
cool.
this, man. I mean, you've literally been transformed into that. It's easy for me to do that because the kid in me is still very, very alive, right? So when I see them guys walking through, like Fleming, man, all them guys with those Terminator arms just burned up in, like, they call us heroes and we know that we're not. So in their eyes, man, y'all have just been transformed into the X-Men, right? You're a freaking X-Men, a superhero, dude. And I'm going to go out here and tell these kids that they're capable and can do anything. Go out there and bust yourself up, man. We'll give you a different leg. You can make it run faster. It's that mentality as opposed to like, oh, you're hurt, man, and that's just terrible. And
he's Captain Crispy, dude. I mean, when you watch,
exactly,
bro, he's crispy to fuck on, dude.
500 pounds.
Right?
Who the hell does that?
He is crispy to fuck on. And so what I want to know is, how'd you get the name? Who gave it to you? How it came about? And share with our listeners that.
Oh. So my nickname came about probably less than a year after I got wounded. I actually flew back to Germany where I was stationed to do the welcome back ceremony with a bunch of the guys. They pushed it a little further out so that we could all kind of recover and show up for it. So one of my buddies, an IED went off and a small piece of shrapnel went through the side of his eye and out the other and lost his eyesight. Nothing else. I'd say nothing else, but there was no other injuries to his body. He lost his eyesight. I mean, just a little small piece. And I went to basic with this guy. We went to basic together. We ended up in the same unit, different platoons, whatever. But we saw each other on a regular, and we were just really, really close friends. So the first day that we got back to Germany, I was on one side of the building, he was on the other side, and I can hear his voice, and I was like, dude, that's Werda. Like, dude, that's my boy. So I started making my way over there, and I looked at him and I was like, "What's up, Werda? It's Omar. It's Avila." And he goes, "Oh shit." He's like, "How you doing, man?" I was like, "I'm good, brother. I'm good." And I was like, "Well, how are you doing? How are you doing with your eyes or whatever?" And he takes off his glasses. He goes, "Check this shit out." And he's full Filipino. He goes, "I'm the only Filipino with a green and a blue eye." He had taken one of his eyes and put another one in. And I started cracking up. And he looks at me and he goes, "Man, how are you doing with your burns?" And I was like, "I'm good." He's like, "Yeah, man, I heard what happened to you, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Yeah." So he's like, "Well, tell me what happened." I said, "It's 75% burns and pretty badly burned." And then he looks at me and I don't know, he goes, "Well, damn, you're pretty fucking crispy, huh?" And I was like, "Holy shit." I was like, "You know what? I like that." So I stuck with it. And, I guess in a way I started calling myself crispy. And from now on, man, like even when my mom calls me, she's like, "Omar." And I'm like, I don't even look at her. I'm like, "What?" And then I turn around, she's like, "I'm talking to you." I was like, "Oh shit." Like, I don't even respond to Omar anymore. I respond to crispy. Like,
well, I mean, I as I said before, I'm a huge fan. I love watching what you're doing. And Evan is very near and dear to me, my heart, and everybody over at Black Rifle Coffee Company. They're just doing wonderful things. Can you talk a little bit about what you got going on in your life? Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? And what's happening next for Crispy?
Oh man, speaking of Evan and Matt and all those guys, it's just I've known Matt for quite a bit, and we always hung out and just film stupid videos and try to make people laugh, man. Because at the end of the day, I think humor it's a great source for recovery. I think that
Amen.
Dark humor that we have in the service translates to those guys that are getting out or have gotten out or are still still active duty, or maybe a guy that's going through something. They see something funny, like the videos that we put out, and I think making their day, it's pretty freaking awesome. So yeah, I get to hang out with all those guys and do cool shit, and it's just awesome, man. I got to meet Marcus's brother Morgan at Poteet not long ago. We did a fundraiser for the boot campaign, and that was pretty neat. And then you just start meeting different people in the community, and it's pretty cool, man, because you get to make a friendship with someone else, and you keep doing just awesome things for others. And
Amen.
That's what Black Rifle is doing, man, and I love that. I love that from them, and that's why I kind of stick around with them.
Dude, I love the one where you got the hockey mask on and the machete, and you're, oh my God, that's probably my favorite one of all time, dude. It's just, and then another my favorite, you just did one recently where you're waterboarding Jack with Strike Force, man. I swear to God, I pissed my pants on that Crispy so much. Jack is one of my favorite people in the whole world. I think his natural comedic talent is right up there with John Belushi and the rest of those guys, man.
Oh man, I tell people that all the time. I think he's one of the guys that's underrated, man, because he's just such a funny guy. He came to stay out here with me, and I live right outside of Austin, closer to New Braunfels. And he came out here and stayed a couple of days, and man, that guy is just hilarious, man. I love that dude.
He's one of the true special guys in our whole little connected community that just brings that humor, understands the power of it. So
he sure does.
And it's great having those guys around in any kind of capacity, because it doesn't matter what they say. It gets to a point where, like, if they ask you what time it is, it's funny, right? Because it's when they ask it. Yeah, probably. It's like the timing's just perfect. When you have one of those natural comedic times, it just means their timing is absolutely perfect.
Totally.
You're dropping that in there, and you're like,
totally.
Needed that.
So where can people follow you?
Oh man, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and they're all under Crispy11B.
Awesome. Well, Crispy.
11 Bravo, 11 Band-Aid.
Yeah.
You were 11 Band-Aid?
11 Bang Bang.
Well, brother, I listen, thank you so much. Again, I'm telling you, it is beyond an honor watching you do what you're doing and bringing, in particular for me, is watching you put a smile on those kids' faces That's a true gift. God is working through you. God is active in you and your purpose in life. And just so you know, it's apparent, and we support you 1,000%, brother. Just God bless you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Amen.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Yep. Bye. Brother, what a gracious human being, you know what I mean? I mean, he had every right to be pissed off. He had every right to be angry. Imagine getting your skin scrubbed like that.
I kept thinking about when he started telling that story. You remember when Richard Pryor got burned? He was when he was doing that stand up about telling about it.
Oh yeah,
I was laying in the hospital,
live on the Sunset Strip.
I woke up and I was all drugged up, and the guy came in, my physical therapist. He's like, "Rich, it's gonna be great. We're gonna wash you today. It's gonna be great.
We're gonna wash you.
Wash you. It's gonna be. I just wanted to get you ready because man, we're gonna wash you. It's gonna be all
right. It's gonna be
great." I get him. Okay, you go wash me. Just wash me again.
One of the best.
When he hit me with that sponge to debride the skin, I was like, "Wait, don't do that,
dude, and his facial expressions, and he's just,
don't
my
wash
God.
me don't leave me dirty, man.
If you have never seen Richard Pryor live on a Sunset Strip, do yourself a favor and go watch that, because that's one of them. But seriously, burn victims, I'm telling you, man.
It's the worst one, man. When your armor's stripped off of you, that's what's happened. You can't really appreciate what your skin does for you. And
until that moment.
I mean, the beating it takes day to day, and it really is something. It is armor for everything around us that can get in and kill us and what it keeps away. And the minute, man, you interfere with that part of it, it's just, the underside of it doesn't want to have anything to do with the outside.
Absolutely.
At all.
That's what other healing process?
Well, that's the problem.
You basically have to go stripping that away time and time again. What other injury do you...
None.
Usually it's leave it alone, keep it from getting infected.
Don't mess with it. We're going to cast it up. Don't even touch it.
Keep it clean.
Burned. Your ass is going to have to go through the same thing. Torture every day.
That is
torture.
Horrendous.
And you got to do it.
I think the next level of technology, the medical, when they come out for the burn.
New skin.
Yeah, right. So where they just lay in a jelly vat of lidocaine, and then you come out of it
like
brand new.
the wraps they put on vehicles.
Yeah.
I get the tiger stripe skin pattern.
That's what I would have right there. I'd have a tiger stripe.
This arm sponsored by Goodyear tires.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day when a lot of people or some people in our country are wrapped up with color. The cool thing about being in the military, and we talked about it on the show, when you go through that rite of passage, man, like our skin changes color. It's camouflage.
Totally.
We gave that up, man. It's badass.
So did our culture.
Yeah, and you can adapt to our generation, man. We adapt to every color.
Amen.
That's it.
I love it. Well, it was such a privilege to have Omar Crispy on. And, I just love what he's doing with the kids. Again, for me, that's like the quintessential. When you can think so far outside yourself to recognize that there are little kids that have been burnt, and to be living with those scars, and him to show up and teach them, to inspire them to be strong, that they're not scars of weakness, they're scars of strength. Man, that's a good person right there.
Absolutely. You can only imagine how rewarding that is for him also on the receiving end of being able to provide that kind of comfort, inspiration for...
Superhero.
I love that piece, dude.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to step out on a limb. We had talked about that, this is the anniversary coming up of Red Wings, and I'm going to step out there, on a personal note, Marcus. Man, you're one of those heroes, brother, and I know you hate it. I know you can't stand when you hear it. But, man, you are that, and you are that for millions of people, in particular millions of kids out there. That was a profound day for all of us, but you in particular. And, I just want to start my thanks off by, how you have led the way, how you have been the example and shown so many of us what it means to do as you go through something profound like that. So, thank God for you. Thank God for what you've done. Thank God for how you're still doing it. I want to just thank God for me being here too. I want to thank all our brothers that aren't here today. In particular, that fateful day 13 years ago. And I want to thank Crispy. I want to thank, all the people that are living that purpose out and really trying to make the world a better place through their scars, through their injuries, and the profound impact that you all are having in this life. And I want to thank you all for being a part of just next to you, by your side, and helping you do that. Because I feel very, very blessed to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And the anniversary's coming up. It's that's something. Those guys are great. The hero tag, it bothers me, man. So I made up something to explain that whole thing, why I'm not a hero. And I think as Navy SEALs, a hero is someone who steps into a situation that you're not prepared for. As Navy SEALs, we're sea, air, and land specialists. I've actually been trained for almost every scenario I get my butt into. And then I went out and tried to get into it. So hero stands for humanity's eternally revolving one, right? So it's everyone out there. You're going to get put in a situation that you're not trained for. And when you step up and thrive through that adversity, that makes you the hero. And everybody in this country is what keeps me going now. I don't know defeat mentally because everyone around me won't be mentally. The best part about growing up the way I did is my identity was created off of everything that I've watched and seen from our people, from the movies. And I was so weak and little and stuff like that. And just, it was an honor to be out there on that battle. And, we all sign up for in the military, we join the uniform, we go out and we fight together. And in any situation, in a football game, baseball game, whatever it is, you're going to have those players that excel, right? That just do something so wonderful in the game that they're going to be remembered forever. And that's what all those guys did. They're going to be remembered forever. I played in the game. That's it. And, in the SEAL teams, I'm known for what a Navy SEAL can take, right? You got the other guys on the successful mission. That's what we can do. Make no mistake, all our team guy brothers out there, I know that, man. That's why, and I know at any given day, man, you have I still get hit, man, and when I go down, that's just the first part of me that goes down. There's actually 19 other men that give me my strength. You have to beat me 19 times.
Amen.
Before I stop. That's why I've never bent my knee only to my wife. I only bow my head to God. So it was just an honor to be a part of that, to walk among it. I was thinking if I ever had to give a talk at one of the Buds graduations, I would say one thing to the parents and then say something else to the students, and something along the lines of like, if you weren't if you're just coming in, if you've heard my story, if you've heard the stories of all my brothers in the past and what we've done, and there's two kinds of people. There's those people who are going to be like, man, that's terrible. I'm glad I wasn't there. And then there's those guys who be like, man, I wish I was there. If that's you, then you're in the right spot. Because even if the outcome is defeat with us, it's not defeat. That's your, man, that's the rite of passage to that forever SEAL team. Those ultimate warriors, right? So, man, and then after that, to go back with Ramadi and fight there. These guys have just been looking out for me as long as I've been in, just trying to pull my damn weight. So thank you for my life. I truly don't have the vocabulary to explain it these days. I get into those I joke a little about like I'm pretty sure I died in combat because everything that leads up to the point to this moment is unexplainable, like jaw dropping. That's why I don't ever talk about it. What I see every day. So I'll always get up every day and try and pull my weight because of it. I'm indebted to y'all for that. Thank you for allowing me the privilege. I'm out.
We now like to honor those that paid the ultimate sacrifice in Operation Red Wings. As part of the initial 4-man SEAL element, Lieutenant Michael Murphy, Petty Officer 2nd Class Matthew Axelson, Petty Officer 2nd Class Danny Dietz. Aboard the 47, responding to the incident that was shot down, Chief Jacques Fontaine, Senior Chief Daniel Healy, Lieutenant Commander Eric Christensen, Petty Officer 1st Class Jeffrey Lucas, Lieutenant Michael McGreevy, Petty Officer Second Class James So, Petty Officer First Class Jeffrey Taylor, and Petty Officer Second Class Shane Patton. The members of the 160th SOAR, Staff Sergeant Seamus Gore, Chief Warrant Officer Corey Goodnature, Sergeant Kip Jacoby, Sergeant First Class Marcus Morales, Master Sergeant James Ponder, Major Stephen Reich, Sergeant First Class Michael Russell, and Chief Warrant Officer Chris Schirkenbach.